Good evening. Welcome back to Lord Hellhound's late night spook show here on the Horror and Metal channel. I'm Lord Hellhound, and I thought it'd be fun to choose my favorite horror movie from each decade, from the 1920s all the way to the 2020s. So, favorite horror movie from from each decade, spanning about 100 years. So, a century's worth of horror. So let's go and get started. All right, so from the 1920s, the three contenders were Nosferatu from 1922, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920, and The Phantom of the Opera from 1925. Yeah, it was between those three, but I think I am going to go ahead and go with Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, 1925. So this is 100 years old as of this year. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Just turned 100 this year. So I wanted this one because I like Nosferatu and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari a lot as well. But this one I think is just I love the makeup on Lon Chaney Sr. He did his own makeup, and I even read somewhere where that originally he wasn't going to show his face a lot, because like most Phantom of the Opera movies, they only show the deformed face at the very end. They lose the mask, but his makeup looks so good that they ended up showing it a lot throughout most of the movie. It does look awesome, and it's very accurate to the book too. The book described him as looking like a literal skull. So it's exact to the book, and it looks great. Yeah, Lon Chaney Sr., like I said, did his own makeup, and he looked really awesome. He's the man with 1,000 faces, and when it comes to silent era horror, I think he's kind of the horror icon of that era. So yeah, the Phantom of the Opera, which, like I said, is 100 years old this year. Pretty cool. Lon Chaney Sr. My favorite movie in the 1920s, and probably my favorite silent film as well. When it comes to the 1930s, it has to be something from Universal. It's got to be one of the Universal classic monsters, because that's where I got my start in horror. I mean, I was going to be a horror fan regardless. I always loved Halloween and scary stories, graveyards, haunted houses, the supernatural, I was always into scary stuff, even before I actually saw a horror movie. But when it comes to cinema, it all started with the Universal monsters. I would watch them on like Chiller Theater and Creature Features and stuff like that. Then eventually I would get them on VHS, and that was pretty much the first horror series, a horror franchise I had, or any franchise for that matter, on VHS. Kind of one of my first collections as a youth, and it was pretty much between when it comes to the 30s, it was pretty much between the original Frankenstein from 1931, Dracula with Bela Lugosi from the same year, and Bride of Frankenstein from 1935. So yeah, those were the three contenders. It was between those three, and but I went Bride of Frankenstein, which I consider my favorite Universal Monsters movie. And if you watched the last Morbid Hour live stream, this was my number one choice. We kind of done our top 10 favorite Universal classic monsters films, and this one was my number one. The original Frankenstein is definitely a close second and a strong contender as well. But I think this one's a lot more enjoyable. I like how Boris Karloff, who returns as the monster, talks this time and has more of a personality and kind of has a little more to do. They kind of put him in more interesting situations. Colin Clive returns as Dr. Henry Frankenstein, renamed from Victor from the novel, and he's great as well. Dr. Pretorius, played by Ernest Thesiger, steals every scene he's in. He was awesome. Great villain, and of course the title character, the Bride of Frankenstein. She's only in it for 5 minutes, but her look is so iconic. And even though she doesn't have much screen time, she's highly memorable as well. So yeah, Bride of Frankenstein, awesome movie. And when it comes to the Universal monsters, this is my top choice. There's a lot of other great horror movies in the 30s as well, and I might actually list some more contenders in the description below. So check that out. I might say some more. More choices that I thought about from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on. So check the description just in case. I might name some more ones that I had thought of, because I did make a few changes to this list literally right before I started this video. So there's definitely other choices that were a very, very close call. All right. So anyway, the 1940s, it's going to be another Universal movie, and I thought about doing Frankenstein meets the Wolfman or House of Frankenstein, which were crossovers, and was basically, made the Universal monsters pretty much the first cinematic universe. I'd also consider Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, because it actually has, of course, has the Wolfman, the Frankenstein monster, and Dracula played by Bela Lugosi for the second and final time in a feature-length movie, but that one's more of a comedy. It did balance the three monsters way better than the previous two House movies, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula. But it comes with the 40s. I think I'm just going to go with the Wolfman. I think this is still technically the best. It's a great movie, great makeup. I really like Lon Chaney Jr. as Lawrence Talbot, aka the Wolfman. I think he's just as iconic. I think he's just as important an early horror icon as Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. I think he doesn't get as much credit. Sometimes he's kind of in his father, Lon Chaney Sr., that we already talked about from Phantom of the Opera. He's kind of in his shadow, too, a little bit. But I think he's awesome. And it's interesting in this movie because the Lawrence Talbot character and the other, in all the other movies he's in with are all crossovers. Yeah, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and like I said, the two House movies, and Abigail and all that. This is the only movie where we get to see what he was like before he was bitten and became a lycanthrope. And Bela Lugosi's in it too. He plays the werewolf that transforms Lawrence. So we can see what he's like a little bit before. In the other movies, he's pretty much just like looking for a cure or looking to die or, just hiding or trying to stay safe from the full moon so he doesn't kill any more people. But this one we see, what his personality was before he was afflicted with that curse. And he was kind of a ladies' man and kind of funny too. He was an interesting character. So I like that. There actually aren't any shots of the full moon in this. And there's the only transformation shot is it shows his legs gradually growing hair and stuff. But it's still really awesome. Still really good. It's got some great atmosphere, some great a great mood and tone, some eerie, ominous scenery and stuff. Scenes in the woods and stuff. And like I said, the makeup work is awesome. Really cool looking werewolf. Lon Chaney Jr. is a great character, and of course Claude Rains plays his father, Sir John Talbot, Lawrence Talbot's dad, and he does a great job as well. Yeah, awesome movie. All right, so when it comes to the 1950s, I feel like that was all about sci-fi. There's a lot of science fiction films that were pretty much dominated that decade. Aliens, UFOs, giant monsters, mutants, giant insects, futuristic stuff. But there was quite a bit of good horror movies too. Of course, we have the original 1953 House of Wax with Vincent Price. The 1958 The Fly, also with Vincent Price. House on Haunted Hill, 1959, yet again with Vincent Price. It would be good to have good to have a Vincent Price movie on this list, but I think when it comes to the 50s, for me, the late 50s anyway, was all about Hammer. The 30s and 40s, and even some of the 50s was all about Universal monsters. When I think of the 50s and 60s, and even early 70s a little bit, it was all about Hammer for me, and after I watched all the Universal Monsters films and was obsessed with those, I got into Hammer. That was the next step. It was basically the monsters again, but this time in color and with more blood and more, a little bit more adult themes. It was just the next level. I still, not that it was better than the Universal Monsters per se. It's kind of apples and oranges, but Hammer is really where it's at. And I could have went with Curse of Frankenstein from 1957, Revenge of Frankenstein from 1958, or The Mummy from 1959. But my favorite Hammer horror movie of all time has always been Horror of Dracula, with the great Christopher Lee playing the Count. He's awesome. He's pretty much just as good as Bela Lugosi, though in a lot of different ways. Bela Lugosi is, of course, more iconic, and when you see somebody do an impression of Dracula, usually it's the Lugosi version that they imitate, the Hungarian accent and all that. But Christopher Lee is awesome as well, and he actually played Dracula 7 times in the 9 Hammer Dracula movies, and also in Dracula and Son, the comedy, and Count Dracula from 1970, which I'm going to be talking about that one in an upcoming video soon. But anyway, Horror of Dracula, yeah, the great Christopher Lee is the bloodsucker who's he kind of pulls off the suave, charming, debonair, sophisticated Jim on Dracula, and just the evil, ravenous, blood-sucking leech on 2 legs. He'll stop at nothing to get his way. He's merciless and just fierce and monstrous. Of course, has another great performance by the great Peter Cushing, another phenomenal actor as Van Helsing. He's my favorite Van Helsing. He's just awesome. And I love how their rivalry was a little more of a physical one than just like a battle of wits as seen in some of the other movies. I love the climax where they fight each other. It's awesome. Peter Cushing's great. Christopher Lee's great. When it comes to Hammer, this is my favorite. When it comes to the 1950s, gotta be Hammer or Dracula. Awesome movie. All right, so the 60s had a lot of pretty good choices. Night of the Living Dead from 1968, the George A. Romero masterpiece that started his Dead series. There's Rosemary's Baby. There's quite a bit of good ones, but I think I am going to go with the original Psycho from 1960, directed by the great Alfred Hitchcock, one of the best film directors of all time. Anthony Perkins is stellar as the creepy Norman Bates. Of course, Janet Leigh, who plays Marion. The shower scene and the fact that they killed off what seemed to be the main character halfway through the film was so like shocking and so new at the time, so groundbreaking. Yeah, it's just an excellent movie. Like, I'm sure, you know, this twist has been spoiled for everybody now, but even if you already know the twist, it's still a very highly enjoyable movie. And I think it still holds up today for sure. It's black and white, of course, but it's just awesome. Yeah, pretty much everything about this movie is great. And I actually saw it. I've always been a fan of it since I was a kid. It was after the Universal Monsters and the Hammer horror movies. Psycho was one of the first horror movies I saw. And I was actually able to watch it at the drive-in a few years ago with the drummer of the band I was currently in. And he had never seen it. So it was really cool watching it at the drive-in with somebody who'd never seen it and didn't know the twist where, spoiler alert, you know, it looks like it's going to be Norman Bates' mother doing the killing, but turns out it's actually him. He's killed his mother, and she's a corpse who he keeps in the attic and sometimes the basement, and he dresses as her and stabs women in the shower and stuff. And, you know, private detectives who are investigating the murder. So yeah. I had to spoil it because I had to talk about how awesome the ending is and how shocking the twist is. Plus, you already know. You already know what the twist was. So, you know, who are we kidding? I didn't spoil anything. Awesome movie. It's a masterpiece. Absolute classic in every way. So iconic. One of the best horror films ever made. Definitely top 10 material and easily my favorite horror film from the 1960s. The original Psycho, directed by the great Alfred Hitchcock. Check it out. All right, for the 1970s, yeah, there's a lot of good choices. For sure, and I'll be here all day if I name all of them. Like I said, check the description. I might list a few more contenders for some of these decades, and I might also add some more thoughts and stuff. So, but you already know what's coming. Of course, it's the original 1978 John Carpenter masterpiece, Halloween, with Michael Myers, my favorite horror villain, and Dr. Loomis, played by the great Donald Pleasence, who's one of my favorite horror protagonists, and of course Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, one of my favorite scream queens and final girls. I've talked about this movie ad nauseum on this channel, and I've also talked about how I've talked about this movie ad nauseum on this channel, so let's go ahead and move on. If you want more of my thoughts of the original Halloween, watch pretty much any of my other videos, because I'll praise it until the cows come home. Yeah, the original Halloween. It's amazing. It's a masterpiece. Nearly flawless. All right, so next we have the 80s, and this was going to be tough because not only was the 80s the best decade for horror, in my opinion, but I think it was the best decade for movies in general. Yeah, gotta love the 80s, my favorite decade. There's so many I could have there's so many I could have chosen. Of course, you know, all the good Friday the 13th movies, all the good Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Texas Chainsaw 2, Halloween 2, Halloween 4, you know, Fright Night, Return of the Living Dead, Reanimator, The Lost Boys, American Werewolf in London, Child's Play, Poltergeist. There's so many good ones. Like I said, check the description. I might list some more contenders. But I think I am going to go ahead and go with Evil Dead 2, which is most likely my favorite horror sequel and possibly my second favorite horror movie ever made next to Halloween. But like I said, there's really like a lot of movies that I could just kind of consider equal, but I think we'll go with Evil Dead 2, and it's mostly because of the great Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams, my favorite horror protagonist. I said that Myers was my favorite horror antagonist, while Ash is my favorite horror hero. And in this movie, we really see his transformation from kind of a shy, kind of cowardly, like kind of nerd type character like he was in the first movie, to the chainsaw-armed, shotgun-toting, one-liner spitting badass action hero type who's continues to battle with the Deadites. Yeah, this one had a higher budget. It was more of a horror comedy than the first movie. It wasn't as gory and it wasn't as gruesome or graphic, but it's still pretty effective and pretty shocking. You know, it's still pretty intense. In a good way, and like I said, it definitely ups the humor. There's a lot of really good jokes in this movie. It's hilarious. It's just as funny as it's scary. Yeah, Bruce Campbell's great as Ash. The supporting characters are good. Great special effects, great scenery, great atmosphere, great tone. Awesome ending. Yeah, really thrilling, riveting climax and finale. You know, some really funny moments. Like I said, awesome makeup effects. This movie just has it all. It's just excellent. Absolutely love it. Evil Dead 2. I praise this one a lot too. So let's just go ahead and move on. All right, for the 90s, yeah, so horror was just king in the 80s. When it comes to the 90s, it was a little more few and far between. Most people are definitely going to say Scream. And when I think of 90s horror, I usually do think of Scream first. It's always about Scream or Candyman when it comes to the 90s, pretty much. And, you're not wrong. Those are great choices, too. And I think that Scream might, be technically, objectively a better, more well-made film on paper than the one I'm going to choose, Anyway, yeah, there's also Wishmaster. There's also Army of Darkness, of course, the third in the Evil Dead trilogy. The follow-up to Evil Dead 2. There's From Dusk Till Dawn. That's a good one. Like I said, check the description because I might list some more choices, some more possibilities. So yeah, I almost went with Scream. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with Bride of Chucky. And, I've made a few top 10 lists on this channel in which I didn't include this, and now I kind of wish I did. So that's kind of why, that's one of the reasons why I decided to choose this. And yeah, Scream probably is a better movie. Hell, Candyman's probably a better movie. But this movie's just so much more enjoyable. It's so entertaining to me. It's a horror comedy. It's a lot of fun. It's a feel-good movie for me. I know that might seem kind of messed up and deranged, but, it's comfort food. If ever I'm in a bad mood, I'll put this on. It always makes me happy. And speaking of Scream, that's the fun fact. The poster is actually a parody of Scream 2, which came out the previous year, 97. So yeah, it's an homage. But yeah, Bride of Chucky from 1998. I think it's going to be my choice for the 90s. I could have went with Child's Play 2 also, and that's probably technically a better movie. It's more horror. The only one I think is even remotely scary is the original from 88, which is also good. And yeah, Child's Play 2 probably is a better movie. But I just find this way more enjoyable. I love how Chucky has a lot of screen time to say. He's a really awesome new look, too. A lot of people don't like the Stitch look. I think it looks great. I think it's cool how they give him a new appearance for this. Tiffany's a great character. It's got some great kills, some pretty good gore, It's not a whole lot, but, it's pretty violent. It's funny as hell. It's just hilarious. And to me, all the jokes work, too. In some horror comedies, some of the humor is hit or miss, but I think it nails it across the board in this one. Brad Dourif is awesome as the voice of Chucky. Jennifer Tilly's great. I love the story. I love how it's like a travel movie. They're on the road most of the time, like a road trip. It has an awesome soundtrack too. Holy crap, is the soundtrack good? Oh man, we got Judas Priest. When they had Tim Owens singing for him, Slayer. Screaming Cheetah Wheelies, Monster Magnet, Bruce Dickinson, I think, even did a track for this, if I'm not mistaken, from, the singer of Iron Maiden, his solo band. Lots of awesome songs. It's just a really, really rocking soundtrack. There's a lot of killer tunes. Great moments, a lot of memorable, highly entertaining scenes. It's just so enjoyable for me. Like I said, there's probably a better choice that's, technically better on paper, but I just love Bride of Chucky. It's such a fun movie. It just feels like I'm at home. Whenever I watch it, I could be, anywhere else. I just feel like I'm right at home with this movie. I just love it so much. I feel like, Chucky and Tiffany are almost like my family, So fun. But yeah, Bride of Chucky from 1998 is going to be my choice for the 90s. That was one of the ones I changed to. I originally had Scream, but I'm going to go Bride of Chucky. Yeah. I think every other list like this is going to say Scream. And like I said, you're not wrong. That is a good choice. But I'm going to go Bride of Chucky. I had to put a Chucky movie on here. Though, like I said, Child's Play 2 was also a strong contender. All right, as for the 2000s, I was originally going to put Final Destination. I think that's my favorite, more modern, post-millennium horror franchise, and I really like the new one, too. The sixth one, Final Destination Bloodlines. I finally saw that, and I got it on Blu-ray. I'm going to be talking about that in a future video, too. My next Loose and Lore, actually, when I got a few more things coming in the mail. But yeah, the 2000s, there weren't a lot of great ones, but there was definitely a few. There's also The House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, Wrong Turn. I'm not really into the Saw movies, but I do think that the first one was really good. Part 2 and 3 were even pretty good, too. I did have a good time when I had, a marathon of the first 7, which is all there was at the time a few years ago. But Saw's not really my cup of tea, so I wasn't going to pick that. And I really like the House of Wax remake too, with Paris Hilton. I actually thought that was pretty good, despite some questionable CGI effects for this formed face. You shouldn't use CGI for that. You should use makeup. But anyway, I digress. I think I'm going to go and go with Freddy versus Jason. And like I said, there are probably some better choices I could have picked that are better movies, but I just love this movie. I didn't have a Freddy movie or a Jason movie on this list, so I felt like I had to include it. I originally had Final Destination, like I said. I even kicked around having Hostel. No, not Hostel. Not Hostel, sorry, Hatchet. Hatchet. I thought about having Hatchet on here too, which I really like that movie a lot. But I went with Freddy versus Jason. Yeah, I gotta have a Freddy, or a Jason movie on this list, and now I have, this one. I have both of them with one movie. The more I watch this as an adult, I see like more of its flaws, but like my inner like younger self who saw this at the theater when it came out just will not let me dislike this movie. I had so much fun in the theater when it came out. It was just a total nostalgia fest. I'm so glad they crossed over. They had Freddy and Jason in one movie. It was awesome. Robert Englund was great once again. It does suck that Kane Hodder didn't play Jason. This has been said a million times, and I'll say it again. But I didn't think Ken Kersner did a bad job, per se. It was still great. Like, they still utilized with characters really well. It's cool seeing, like, the flashback scenes and, like, scenes on Elm Street, like, in Springwood, I guess, and then scenes at the Camp Crystal Lake was awesome. All kinds of references to past movies. Mostly Nightmare on Elm Street movies, but there's a lot of Jason stuff as well. There probably could have been more, but the main characters aren't really that interesting, but they're okay. The only thing I don't really like is how involved they were and how they kind of got more focused. And like when the final battle was going on, which was awesome and had an awesome soundtrack too, by the way. This was also directed by Ronnie Yu, who did Bride of Chucky. Hell, maybe he should have done the Halloween remake instead of Rob Zombie. I really like his style. He should have done more horror movies. Great soundtrack, great scenes, great fight scenes. There could have probably been a little more. Pretty elaborate dream sequences too, like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is known for. It's really cool seeing both horror icons face off. I already had a Michael Myers movie, I had a Chucky movie, I had to have something with Freddy vs. Jason. I think this is my favorite of the 2000s. It came out in 2003, and like I said, I saw it in the theater, had an absolute blast. It was like one of the first movies I could think of that really relied a lot on nostalgia, like a total nostalgia fest, like at least for the more modern era. It was just so much fun. I think that like during the final battle, the main character should have just like stayed out of it a little bit. I don't like how Laurie, the main character, gets way too involved when they're fighting. Just let Freddy and Jason fight. You guys can comment or spectate, but don't get into don't involve yourself in the fight, because I don't want to see it take away from them. But it's still really good. A lot of fun. Like I said, it's flawed, but like I said, my inner younger self will not let me, just forces me to overlook the flaws. This is so much fun. It was just so great seeing all these, these horror references, and just, it was definitely made for the fans. I can definitely see, critics and like, people like that just tearing it apart. I totally get it, but I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's great. I think it's one of the better movies, in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise as well. It might actually be my third favorite next to Part 1 and Part 3. I don't know. New Nightmare is great too, of course. And I even like Part 2 and 4, but, when it came to the 80s, I had to do Evil Dead 2, so I couldn't choose a Jason or a Freddy movie, but, really love Freddy vs. Jason. It's a fun flick. All right, now, for the 2010s, the teens, I guess, I was originally, sorry, getting tongue-tied, going to go with The Conjuring, and, maybe that's a technically a better movie. I do love ghost movies and like haunted house stuff, and I love the Ed and Lorraine Warren, the Warrens, like their all their cases, which I knew a little bit about before I saw it. Of course, they investigated the Annabelle doll, who in real life is a Raggedy Ann doll, and of course the Amityville case, the Amityville hauntings they investigate. So it's cool seeing them, and I love haunted house possession movies, demons and ghosts and stuff. If done well, there's a lot of bad ones. There's a lot of really bad ones, but when it's done well, like in Conjuring or Insidious or like Poltergeist or The Shining, then I really like that type of stuff. So I was really going to go with that. I even thought of maybe going by Hereditary or It Follows or one of those, but I think I'm going to go ahead and go with Halloween 2018. So I had 2 Halloween movies on this list. Both of them were just called Halloween. I hate the title. I hate that they just called it Halloween, especially when this came out, only a little over a decade after Rob Zombie's remake, also called Halloween. So we have 3 movies called Halloween. They should have called it Halloween Returns or Halloween The Next Chapter instead of just giving it the same name as the first one. It only follows the first movie and ignores all the sequels, so it's a follow-up. So basically you have Halloween from 1978, and then 40 years later, the follow-up, Halloween, and its sequel, Halloween. Freaking stupid. I always hated the H2O title, but at least that was a title. It's better than not giving it one. But anyway, aside from the lame title. This is a really, really good movie, a really good follow-up. It's probably my fourth favorite Michael Myers movie, next to the original Halloween 2 from 1981 and Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. It's really, really good. I think it was well worth the wait. I like it better than H2O. Yeah, Laurie Strode's back, played once again by Jamie Lee Curtis, who's like a paranoid survivalist type character, and kind of has a Sarah Connor vibe going on. It's really cool. I think she had a lot more to do here, actually, than she did in the first two Halloween movies. And maybe even H2O, and definitely Resurrection. Yeah, I really liked her character. Like, she was good. Like, we didn't really have a Dr. Loomis. They almost did something like that, but yeah, it turned out to be like a weird twist, which I was kind of okay with, but a lot of people hated. Yeah, really good kills. Michael Myers is really violent and brutal in this one, way more so than all the previous installments. But yeah, it's a really good movie. It blew me away, and I saw it in the theater. It's a really good sequel. It's one of the better Halloween movies. Like, when we had Resurrection and the two Rob Zombie movies, I was almost, like, embarrassed to be a Halloween fan. Like, well, not really embarrassed, but I was kind of like, man, it's not really a great series. This doesn't even out very well. There's more bad than good. But when this recent reboot trilogy came out, it really won me over a lot more, and I was proud to call myself a Halloween fan, overall again. Even though Halloween Ends was definitely a mediocre mixed bag. But, yeah, really like Halloween 2018. It's a great sequel, now one of the best in the series, and easily my favorite movie of the 2010s. But like I said, check the description for more contenders. All right, so the final decade is the 2020s, and we're not even done yet. Like, we're only halfway through, so who knows? There might be a better one. For the last half of the decade, which, we're almost in 2026. But originally I was going to go with Halloween Kills, which I really like. That's the follow-up to Halloween 2018. I thought it was really, really good, really underrated. But relied a lot on nostalgia, which I like. That's never going to be a complaint from me. I'm a nostalgia junkie. You're never going to hear me say, oh, it had too much nostalgia. That's always going to be a good thing. It had some great kills as well. Awesome ending. I loved Halloween Kills. But for more variety, I already picked two Halloween movies. I think I'm going to go Scream 6. And like Halloween 2018, I really, really like this sequel. Scream 5, idiotically just called Scream, was also pretty good. But I think this might actually be possibly my third favorite in the series after Scream 1 and 2. They did a lot of interesting things with it. It had the New York City setting. Ghostface takes Manhattan. He's in the city a lot more than Jason was in Friday the 13th Part 8. Also taking place around Halloween, which is cool. That's awesome. Some really creative kills, some really interesting concepts. Most of the kills are stabbings and death with a knife, but they do a few things different. They mix it up a little bit. The twist ending, which I guess I won't give it away just because this is so new. You might not have seen it, was pretty cool. Yeah, they had some pretty innovative concepts and some creative, clever ideas. Some good characters. It's the only one not to feature Neve Campbell is Sydney. She is returning for Scream 7. The opening was also really different and creative and was something new for sure. I really, really liked Scream 6. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was awesome and really interesting. And I kind of thought that they'd ran out of ideas for this franchise. I wasn't sure what direction they can go to keep it exciting, but this one definitely delivered for sure. It's awesome. All right, anyway, I didn't want this video to be this long. It's almost like 30 minutes. But anyway, so what are your favorite films from each decade? Favorite horror film from each decade? What was your favorite era for horror films? Leave your answers in the comments below, or feel free to make your own video. Tell them Lord Hellhound sent you. Like I said, check the description if I think of any more things to add. As always, thank you for watching my late night spook show here on the Horror and Metal channel. I'm Lord Hellhound, and till next time, later.